Angel-6942 calling in. Angel-6942 calling in. Angel-6942 calling in. The date in human years is Friday, the 12th of March, 2021. And I'm happy because the weather is nicer than it had been. It's sunny, not hot, but sunny, and it sort of lifts your spirit. And also what lifts your spirit is that the UK government are starting to lift what they call the lockdown. So from Monday, children were allowed to go back to school, though they did have to have a COVID test before they were allowed back in. And unfortunately, there was this whole class that was sent back for 10 days as punishment because one student failed the test. And I think that is so unfair because those children never got one-to-one teaching about COVID. I mean, they had these Zoom lessons. I don't know what Zoom is. I think it's something on their black box, and I don't think all the children have their black box. And also programs on the big box called the television. And I've watched these lessons on the television, and they didn't seem very useful. I mean, there was one program about how you could buy a house abroad, and they took all these people to look at houses and buy one. There was another program where people ran about a car boot sale, trying to buy rubbish and then sell them and then lose money on them. The only useful program I could see was this one where people had to learn to spell and do arithmetics in 30 seconds while this big clock ticked down on them. But apart from that, there was nothing about COVID lessons. So I think it was unfair, and I'm surprised that nobody's complained more. But in Wales, things are going well as well. The hairdressers are allowed to open up again, and 2 people from 2 households are now allowed to meet outside, like in parks or forest, which is fantastic news because it means the humans can go back to duelling again. Though, do humans still duel? Maybe it's not the right word. They do something in the open air, groups of them. It's fantastic because it means the humans can go back to dogging again. And I believe dogging is where a lot of them gather in forests and fields and walk their pets. Now, things are getting very, very confusing, not in Scotland this time, but in the EU and the relationship with the UK. Do you remember a few weeks back, or even a month back, I said that the EU were not happy because the UK were getting their vaccines first, because the UK had ordered theirs first from a place in Belgium, which is part of the EU, and also they were making their own in a place called Oxford, which is within the UK. And the EU was so angry about this is that they tried to put a border or block any goods from travelling from the Republic of Ireland, which is the south of Ireland, which belongs to the EU. Well, not belongs to the EU, but be part of the EU, though I think it might be the same thing. And also Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK. Now, so they wanted to make it impossible for anything to travel from the south to the north of Ireland. And apparently this was illegal, and people said, this is illegal, you cannot do this. So the EU backed off. Now, at the same time, the EU said that the vaccines from Oxford, or the Oxford vaccines, were unsafe because it was dangerous for people that were elderly. So as a result, I presume they didn't want it, but when they opened their vaccination centres to vaccinate people, not many people turned up. They showed a picture of a vaccination centre in Paris, which is in a country called France, which is part of the EU, and there was nobody there. There was like one person in one chair. It was empty. And then they spoke to the people outside in French because they're French, and they said that no, they didn't want the Oxford vaccine because it was dangerous, and they were waiting for the Belgian vaccine. So that was that. Now people aren't getting vaccinated enough in the EU. Then at the same time, Italy, which is a country within the EU, blocked the export of vaccines, which I presume was the Belgian vaccines, to a country called Australia, which is on the other side of the world. And I presume they did that because they were not happy that Australia takes part in something called the Eurovision Song Contest, but they hadn't joined the EU yet. Anyway, so that happened. Then the EU government accused the UK government of blocking the export of vaccines from the UK to other parts of the world, including the EU. Though I thought the EU didn't want their vaccines because it was dangerous, which is confusing. Anyway. So the UK government said, no, that's not true. And they called in the representative of the EU to say, liar, liar, pants on fire. I don't know what happened after that. But at the same time, there's this rule coming in that means that if you wanted to move things from the UK to Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, you had to fill a lot of paperwork and make it very difficult. And the UK government said, well, can we delay when we do this because of what's happening at the moment? But then the EU said, no, you're breaking the law by doing that. So it's illegal for the UK to send goods like food to another part of its own country, where it's legal for the EU not to send medicines to other parts of the world. And it just seems to me that it's politics and paperwork and policies that are much more important than human beings and what they need, like medicines and foods. And it's crazy, and it really gives me a headache and confuses me. A lot like what happens in Scotland, which I wonder if that's why Scotland wants to join the EU, because they both think in a very confused way to me. Anyway, apart from that, the girlfriend, I think it's still the girlfriend, of the leader of the UK was in the news, and her name is Carrie. And she used to be a big reality TV star with her friends Samantha, Charlotte and Miranda. And they had this program which followed them around in where they were living at the time, which I think is in the USA, called New York. And it's about their life and their romances and things like that. It was very interesting. I only saw bits of it. But apparently Carrie was having an affair with somebody married called Mr. Big. And of course, Mr. Big was hobo. Bojo! Mr. Big was Bojo. And obviously Bojo divorced his wife and then moved Carrie into 10 Downing Street, which is where the leader of the UK lives now. Now Carrie, being a very stylish and cosmopolitan lady, wanted to redecorate 10 Downing Street and live in the life she was yet to be accustomed to. But it was very expensive because of her sort of style and everything. And the government of the UK, that wasn't Bojo, said no, because it's too expensive. Now, Bojo said, well, why don't we start this charity so that people can donate to it, and then from now on, this charity can be used to sort of upkeep and decorate 10 Downing Street. And I presume that Bojo and Carrie are going to do things like, walk around the garden and get sponsored, or sit in a bucket of baked beans, or have a bucket of cold water poured over them, or Bojo having his hair shaved off, which might be an improvement. And this sort of thing happens in the USA because they have a place where their leader lives called the White House. And they use it to sort of upkeep and repair it. And to be honest, they do need it because, I mean, the White House gets blown up by terrorists and villains and get invaded and blown up again by alien spaceships. And then you get sort of supervillains flying in and ripping the top off and sort of threatening their leader at the time. And then the superhero comes in and rips another bit. So they do need something like that. So it's probably a very good idea. Now, people in the UK, some people are not happy that Carrie seems to be getting what she wants all the time. They're saying that she has an influence over Bojo. Yeah, get it right. Bojo. And that she sort of like is controlling him. Now, I honestly do not blame Bojo because when Carrie gets angry, she gets very, very, very dangerous. I mean, when she was at school, they had a prank and they poured a bucket of blood on her and she was so upset and angry. Her eyes glowed and then she used her mind to attack people and set fire to the school and loads of people were killed, including her. And she came back from the dead. She came back from the dead. Carrie came back from the dead. Oh my God. I think Carrie might be possessed or be a demon from the opposition, sort of brought up here to take control. Is that why you sent me down here? Is that why you sent me down here on a secret mission and it was secret? That's why you're not talking to me? Okay. Guys, I'm hoping you can still hear me. Please send down an angel blade. I'll need a heaven shield and a spare pair of wings because this human hasn't got wings. And make sure it's a big pair because I need the lift. And I will investigate and I will get back to you next week. Finally, I have a reason to be here. I have a mission. Finally, a mission, a reason why I'm here.